Welcome back to the BVarsity Live Super Show. We just had Brian Nixon of Liberty, an exciting year for them, and now we bring in Jason Oliver, the head coach at Foothill. And I know you're probably following Cody Kessler's career a little bit, right, as a former Trojan?
Absolutely, local guy, and also SC Trojan.
You had quite a career down there in the Coliseum as well, and now coaching the another Trojans, the Foothill Trojans, and a rough year last year. Now, besides wins and losses, was there progress made, though, last year as you try to build that program down there in terms of getting some momentum built for this year and maybe trying to – you got to set the foundation before you can do anything else?
Absolutely. The first step was try to get buy-in. Okay, let's get those new kids that were there to buy in, the program that we were trying to run, and get into the weight room. So we got kids working out year-round and putting in some solid work and conditioning, and, the last step is working on the mindset, the expectation to be successful, not just play the game. Play to win.
Can you tell a difference? Let's start physically. I mean, I know you're not allowed to be with the kids all the time, but can you see them get a little bit bigger and stronger and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. We're a lot bigger. We're a lot stronger than we were a year ago. And like I said, the confidence in the guys is extremely high right now. So like I said, we can just carry that into the season. We'll be okay.
And so confidence is high. So that mental aspect of not just going out to play, but going out to win is something that maybe we're still working on, but it seems like it's there in the preseason.
Right.
Now we had a bit of bad news. You just told us out in the hallway a little injury in practice yesterday that may change things for you guys.
All right. We had our potentially starting tailback go down, but a solid young man. But team football's a team sport, so we'll rally around and next guy up. And
sure.
Football stops for no one, so we'll come together and keep pushing.
Who are some of the guys we'll get to know this year out at Foothill who have the chance to make a difference for you?
Joe Fonseca is one of our offensive tackle and defensive lineman. He should be pretty dominant this year.
Okay.
He's probably in the best shape he's been in since I've been at the program. And Hugo Santana, a young kid, quarterback, coming up from JV, going to be a junior. Real high skill set. Just still waiting for the game to slow down for him a little bit at quarterback.
Yeah, that's one of those things that there's almost no substitute for experience. He's got to get out in the field, right?
Right.
How about on the defensive side of the ball? And you mentioned Fonseca, but is there some experience returning on that side? If there was an area where you were more competitive than others last year, it was probably the defensive side of the ball at times.
Right. Defensive tackle wise, like I said, we have some senior returners down front. Linebackers were all new, so we're looking for linebackers to fly around sideline to sideline if we could. I'm really excited about our secondary this year. Have two young junior corners that are really potentially collegiate players, and have two safeties that are returning. So two returning safeties and two solid skill set corners. I'm really excited about this secondary this year.
Good deal, and that's your forte, so that you would know. Now, year 3 at Foothill. Let's go back a couple of years, and you take over a program that is still trying to build something and trying to get somewhere. Has it taken longer than you thought, or are you on track? Where are you entering year 3?
It's always not fast enough as a coach.
Sure.
You always want to move a little bit faster, but I think we made progress. Unfortunately for the kids, to work extremely hard and to witness that and not be rewarded with wins is tough, and you feel that in your heart. But ultimately, we have made progress, and I think we're turning the page. And this year, again, expecting to see change this year. They say it usually takes 4. We're going to work on it being 3 and see what happens.
Is there something to be said if you can just get the win? You get the win, that changes everything, doesn't it?
Right. Momentum is a funny thing. So, I want these kids to feel what it feels like to win. I don't think they've really experienced that the last few years. So, once we get a taste of, as they say, the victory pie, maybe they'll come back for seconds.
Yeah, that would be that's the goal. You got to get that first one before you can get any more, obviously. Let's take a look at how things went last year a little bit more in depth. A couple of close losses early. Arvin, East was a really close game. Miramonte, obviously a close game. End of the year. Do you have you talk about that mindset of playing to win. Do you have a problem as the losses start to pile up in the third quarter when it's a close game, that the belief just isn't there? And that's something you got to change too, if so.
Right. Like we said, we talked about momentum. It's equally as powerful going in the other direction. So, it's hard to keep the kids up when they're working as hard as they are, and Friday night we're still experiencing the same pain. But, that's my job as the head football coach, is to control their mental and keep their hearts in it and make sure they're having fun and willing to compete.
Go ahead, Trevor.
Jason, let's switch away from your team for just a second. Frank Gifford passed away on Sunday. You're a driller. You're a Trojan, just like he was. Did you reflect back on what he meant to you, or a moment that you had with him, or a moment you remember about Frank Gifford that, kind of resonated with you after his passing this weekend?
A name like Frank Gifford, followed him all the way through high school, obviously, because of the history of it, and then USC as well, and then Monday Night Live, Monday Night Football. So, real familiar with that voice. And like I said, condolences goes out to his family. You don't need me to tell me how solid he was, a great young guy like that. But that's tough. That's painful when you lose someone like that has done so much, not only for the sport, but just generally everyone that ever come in contact with him.
Did you ever meet him in person?
A couple times down at Southern Cal. We met a few times. It was in a group setting, but kind of in awe of him. When he walks around, you can kind of tell that, who's this guy here?
Right.
Solid.
Right.
And he's a guy that never, we talked about it, in our paper this week about how he was a guy that never left Bakersfield, never forgot Bakersfield, always remembered his roots. Does that resonate with you? And is that something you bring back to your kids too? Is it, you take this guy who was Hollywood, who was New York, and he was New York before New York was New York in football. And did you bring that back to your guys and remind them that you can make something of yourself right here in Bakersfield?
Exactly. Sometimes we get caught up with being in, the fast cities. But here locally, we're doing some really good things. And I always preach to the guys that you don't want to go and experience the world, but always remember where you came from. And this is where your roots are at.
Right.
Speaking of roots, it seems like there's some coaches in the SEYL setting those roots down. Kerry Mills has been at South a few years now, and obviously he was there not as the head coach, but for quite a while before that. Michael Gutierrez has been at Highland a couple years. Now you're year 3 at Foothill. Do you start to sort of develop identities with these coaches in these schools when you play them?
Absolutely. And so much film work as football coaches, we start to get tendencies in coaches and kind of what their personality is. And, I think our league is getting a lot stronger. And that's really good. That bodes well for our league. Better competition breeds better teams.
And how do you handicap the league this year? I guess it's probably South Highs until someone knocks them off. Is that fair to say?
Fair to say. They've been the king on the top. So until someone goes up there and knocks them off, then they're still there.
And Miramonte, I know they're a newer school. You guys obviously are one of the more historic schools in Bakersfield. Little rivalry there, though. I mean, I think that game means something to both sides.
Absolutely. You got the proximity there. And the past 2 years, our only win was Miramonte. Last 2 years, they beat us last year, their only win. Right. So I guess in a bad way, that is a rival. So hopefully we'll improve on that and add a little more spice to that rival with some more wins.
I'm sure it'd be nice for both schools if it meant something more than just avoiding that 0-10 season this year. Right. Who's a guy who maybe we don't know about a whole lot about who you think could have a breakout season for Foothill?
Hugo Santana, our quarterback again, is going to be right there in the spotlight. Damon Gilliard and Andrew Villanegas are 2 corners.
Okay.
I think they're going to make waves, and I don't know how much success people are going to have trying to line up and throw the ball out there on those 2.
No, are those the 2 guys you said that might be, college level guys?
Yes.
I mean, is it the size? Is it the speed? Is it the instinct? What is it about those 2?
Really, it's a combination of it all. They have the speed and quickness. They have they're student athletes. So, if they continue to get better, obviously we're still a long ways away. If they continue to get better, continue to get it done inside the classroom, we'll be there. That's
the number one thing that I think gets lost on kids is that you can be the greatest athlete that you want to be, but if you don't get it done in the classroom, your freshman or sophomore year, you can forget about being a Division I athlete regardless of your talent on the field. How much do you preach to your kids, get it done and get it done early, especially those incoming freshmen?
We start right from the beginning with that, with the classroom, because football can't take you out of class, but class can take you out of football. And I've been preaching a lot on character. Characters now should be student-athlete character issues at this point. That guys know that off the field, they're being watched. Right. And they have to do the right thing and make the right decisions.
And that includes these days social media, which is something that I think maybe kids and coaches were slow to realize, hey, what you say on social media is there forever. I mean, people take a screen cap of it or whatever it is. You got to be careful there, too, so you have to be careful at all times now. I want to ask you about Hugo Santana because you mentioned him a couple of times. What kind of quarterback is he? Is he a guy who's going to wing it around? Is he a mobile guy, a combination of the 2?
He's a mobile guy. You know, we're in a zone read type offense, spread set. He'll be able to put it all over the field. He can make every throw. Again, his skill set is there. We just need the game to slow down for him a little bit at quarterback, you know. But like I said, you never learn until you get out there.
Right. And I was going to ask you, is there anything you can do before the season, or is it just let's get out there and see what happens?
You know, it's slowing down for him in practice, but it's impossible to emulate game tempo in practice. So until he gets out there against an opponent and Friday night, you know, he's got to taste it. He's got to taste it to get better.
Sure. Let's take a look at your schedule real quick before we let you go. Open up with Tehachapi. You know that's always a tough game. And then you got Arvin, Wasco, West Golden Valley. Man, I mean, this non-league schedule, you got some D2 and D3 teams in there.
Well, not just that. You got about 60 years of coaching experience in those first 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
Right.
You feel like, though, by the time you get to league, you'll have seen just about anything you're going to see. You'll see some pretty good teams in those first 6 weeks.
Absolutely. Our non-schedule, I think, definitely prepares us for our league schedule. You know, there's some tough teams in there, and like you said, some really traditional teams. So, you know, we'll come out and we'll play Trojan football and use the preseason for what it is and try to go into league healthy and ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah, that's always an issue, too. And like you said yesterday, you already had one, but
Speedy recovery to that young man, Jason. Yep.
got to be next
6
man
to
up.
8 weeks.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you got to be the next man up, and so maybe he'll be back by league season. But until then, wish you guys good luck out at Foothill this year, and thanks for coming in.
Hey, we appreciate having me here, and thank you for what you do for us in the local area. It's outstanding.
We appreciate it, Jason.
Appreciate it, Jason.
It's Jason Oliver, Foothill's head football coach. Up next on the BVarsity Super Show, it's Brett Shelton of Stockdale. Be right back after this.